We now will run our national anthem. Thank you, members. As the financial year is about to end, and now we have to say goodbye to the financial year 2022-23. And parallelly, now we have the seasons of the bank branch audit. And to conclude this financial year with this topic, it's always the phenomena at every year. So to have this topic, we invited very renowned speaker, CA Sandeep Welling. Ji, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And we welcome you on Sunday morning. So thanks a lot for giving your valuable time. So now, without taking much more of time to formally introduce the today's speaker, I would like to invite CA Vijeta Jaiswal ji. She will formally introduce the today's speaker.
Good morning, everybody. Very happy Sunday morning today. So it's my privilege to introduce our speaker for the session, CA Sandeep Welling. Sandeep ji is a chief operating partner and a managing committee member at Kirtan and Pandit LLP, Chartered Accountants. He also heads the BFSI Services Division and Mumbai operations at KNP. Nearly 3 decades of diverse experience across a wide range of professional services for the finance sector that includes banks, insurance, NBFC, mutual funds, exchanges, and funds. Now, he spent the initial years of his career with an international audit firm before joining KMP in 2001. And today he is supported by 3 partners in BFSI services, and he handles staff of more than 180 in Mumbai. He has been appointed by regulators for various investigations and specific assignments, including the RBI. He is the member of the Audit Standards Board and Expert Advisory Board of the ICAI, and he is a contributor to several professional publications on BFSI and audit quality standards. He has been instrumental in furthering KNP's philosophy of ethical practice along with integrity and independence. And as a result, today, KNP is one of the most preferred choices for its BFSI clients. He has traveled across the world for developing business and client relationships, and his knowledge and domain expertise gets him invited to speak at various professional forums, including JPN, and both in India and abroad. So I request a warm round of applause to welcome our speaker. I request our CAN sit our speaker.
So before Sandeep ji starts his session, we have to regularize the appointment of the convener and co-convener for the next financial year. As I said, now we are about to say goodbye to this financial year 2022-23. And since the nominations were already there, and that who work with me hand in hand. So CA Purvi Bagaria and CA Vijayta Jaiswal, they were to approach for acting as in convener and co-convener for the financial year 23-24. Now to regularize this appointment, I'll be announcing the co-convener and the co-convener, and the member will have to second, so that our next financial year also should run very smoothly. And the flag of JB Nagar CPA Study Circle, we can keep high and high. The respect and dignity what we have earned since last many years of decades, same we want to continue. And for the next financial year also, if anybody of you, if you want to work as a core committee of the JB Nagar CPA Study Circle, we are welcoming you all. So you also can suggest your name if anybody of you are interested in working administration part of the JB Nagar CPA Study Circle. So for the convener for the financial year 23-24, I am proposing the name of CA Purvi Bagaria. Thank you very much. And for the co-convener for the financial year 23-24, I am proposing the name of CA Vijayta Jaiswal ji. Thank you very much. And congratulations to the convener and co-convener. So thanks a lot for your valuable time, and we will be needed your time throughout the year. And you can imagine the responsibility since we are the JB Nagar CPA Study Circle. So congratulate. Now, sir, we will not disturb you much more. So now you can take the charge, sir. Thank you. This one, right?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me once again to your study circle. Jayesh bhai, आपने कहा कि thank you for coming on Sunday morning, etc., etc. See, for us, we come here, we go. But for you all, I genuinely respect that in the kind of struggle as a coordinator or running the study circle you undergo, that passion towards profession is really hats off to everyone who has been doing this. So really, I congratulate the new coordinator. And generally as a fraternity also, we work towards our passion. So I am also here for the passion towards the profession, and I'm just one of you. And I'm happy to contribute to the cause rather. Okay. Before I start on the LFAR per se, okay, I would like to just give a brief on certain development in the thought process that even the regulators are going ahead with, so that because frankly speaking, there is no change in LFR, and anybody who has done the audit in the previous year, it's going to be the same. But what changes is the perspective of the regulator, and therefore the way we look at it keeps on amending, and that's what keeps us fresh or keeps us moving around on such occasions of seminar. And that is majority of the aspects that we were looking at all this year during bank audit. That is NPA, provisioning, etc., etc. You would observe that it's been taken over by the systems now. So the regulator no longer needs our brain, so to say. It's automated as long as the certification is there, NPA calculations are right. So what is that they want? Why would they have us audit? Why would they have a branch audit? Why would they have, the audit per se? If we were to look at, there are not directly, but during the conversation, they keep on saying something, and I've tried to deduce that for the purpose of our profession. And that is, see, expectations. This is what regulator has said sometimes during their conversation with us. The expectations from a statutory auditor to display a greater degree of skepticism. Now, there was a debate on this word called greater degree of skepticism, because there is no such terminology in our audit standard. And as far as skepticism is concerned, as far as independence is concerned, we do exercise that during the course of our audit. Now, where is the gap? Now, at the cost of repetition during my session today, I'll keep on repeating or coming back to this concept quite often, so that I emphasize on what exactly is the thought process and how is it related to the reporting that we make, which includes LFAR. So, greater degree of skepticism, as while discussion they said, let's see what happens. Quite a few things are now taken care of by the system. Quite a few things are now obvious. All of us are aware. There are quite a few observations that we come up with, which in our opinion are administrative ones, because there is no financial impact at that point in time. I'll give you some small and very simple examples. Documents not signed, stock statement not submitted. Very, very routine observations. Stock audit report not submitted, routine observations. What Reserve Bank of India has observed by compiling the data across banking industry in India, there are majority of the frauds or the bad loans, the sudden, have happened where they are a good account today, they are a standard account today, and tomorrow they are in newspaper. Suddenly the next day it becomes a devil. You will observe in the recent past, many of the major news that you have come across, everything is good, hunky-dory, people are after it. And next day, somebody comes up with some report and everything is gone. Take Nirav Modi, take Vijay Mallya, there are so many observations. There are some more, which are not famous, but we will know it because we have been auditing, all of us. The reason behind that is there are signs, and what Reserve Bank of India is saying, they were hurt. They were hurt that none of this was brought out by auditors. None of this was even pointed out by auditor. Now, my question to you, in fact, I was also one of the FRRB review member for ILFS after some mishap happened. And frankly speaking, technically, I didn't see anything wrong in the reporting. Technically, okay? Strictly going by the book. But there were reading between the lines, which regulators, SFIO said, and they said you could have pointed those out to us. Now, what happens to us, say, in case of a bank audit, if I were to come back to bank audit, you have an account which is 70, 80 days overdue, and between 25th to 31st, some major payment comes and it comes into order. Okay, normal thing which happens in banking system. Reserve Bank of India is saying, don't accept solidarity credits, go behind it. We have no reasons and means to do that, number one. And we always say, look, this is your regulation. This account fits into that. I can't go beyond. And therefore, I have no comment on it. This exactly is the gap which Reserve Bank of India slowly is trying to fill in by saying greater degree of skepticism. What it means is the moment it's a suggestion, request, sometimes down the line, some changes would take in our audit standards also, I feel, because observations which we feel are of an administrative nature, don't push it as an administrative and ignore it. First, eliminate whether there was a deliberate move to keep that lacuna. If somebody is not submitting the stock statement, whether his operations are right, if somebody has not submitted balance sheet, so documents not signed. So you will have other means to check, to eliminate the fact whether it is not intentional or it is not fraudulent. So eliminate that aspect before you conclude that it's administrative. That is what they mean by greater degree of skepticism. And there are quite a few places in LFAR, you will see those pointers are there. We'll discuss it when we come to it. So greater degree of skepticism is something. Number two, before I start, as chartered accountants, all of us basically are subject oriented and studious guys. Okay, we'll debate on interpretations, we'll debate on the subject matter, and we always have been taking pride in excelling the subject matter. But the biggest difference between an audit firm, okay, when I say audit firm, when we are undertaking audit, we are also audit firm. So there are small audit firms and there are large audit firms. There are international audit firms. the basic difference, if you observe, is not that of a quality, but is that of a procedure that they follow and the procedure that they demonstrate. So it's not enough for me to be good at my subject. Well, that's a prerequisite. If you're not good at the subject, you better not be here. That's what regulator says. But what is necessary? What is necessary is whether you are able to demonstrate and whether you are able to, a wrong word on an institute forum, advertise that you follow a particular procedure very strictly. Because that's what gets you audit and that's what loses you from the audit practice. That is the greater differentiator. You are aware AQMM is coming up. You are aware SQC1 mandates are there from the institute. And there are several forums that institute is taking up these issues from time to time. So demonstrating that is now essential part of the audit. I was invited by NAFRA for giving them a lecture on audit standards. And generally, I could feel the difference between the audience that we speak in front of our fellow members and the regulators. One of, I was explaining SQC as to how SQC goes and the entire structure, etc., etc. One of the officers stands up and asks me, so sir, if I come to your office and if I ask you for these, don't have it, does it mean that you have not followed your regulator instructions? Look at the question, huh? Sir, look at the, I don't think any of our members would ask that question. Look at the regulator mindset. What they say, like RBI, like SEBI, ICAI is your regulator. So whatever they publish, whatever they instruct you is a mandate to you. And during the course of your audit, if you have not followed that, we will catch you. That's why, on many forums, Institute Forum also have been saying, it's time for us to review all our material. You never know, India के law जैसा है, कौन सा law 1860 का निकलेगा और यहाँ से हमें पकड़ के लेके जाएंगे पता नहीं है. It's a गुलदस्ते में है सब. हमारे यहाँ भी ऐसे ना कि सालों से चल रहा है. But look at the way regulators are looking at. And the reason I'm saying it, bank audit is part of NAFRA investigation if they want to, whether small or big. So it's time for us to rise to the occasion. It's time for us to know where the winds are blowing, and either we strategize and make ourselves equipped with that, or we don't take up audit. I used to go to London for my office work quite often, and because of my associations there, I happen to be on such study circles there. Majority of the crowd over there during the tea time and all would take pride in saying, I don't take up audits. I don't want audits. It's too much of a responsibility. So look at, even over here, you will see, when I used to come earlier and now, there are less number of younger generation people coming to the profession, the audit. ऑफिस में भी होते हैं तो कहते हैं नहीं यार बहुत जिम्मेदारी है सर, इंडस्ट्री में जाएंगे या फाइनेंस कंपनी में जाएंगे वगैरह वगैरह. That's our universal experience. So we need to, those who are in the profession, those who carry the passion towards the profession will have to now pull up the sleeves to ensure that, because it's not about us getting an assignment. It's not about us as an individual practitioner, but it is also about the profession. If I commit a mistake, it's not mere Sandeep Welling who is committing a mistake. Chartered accountants are committing mistakes. Any one of us. it gets blown up to the disproportionate extent. So with this, understanding, I'll move on. This is another concern that they speak on. We have for long forgotten the external confirmations. EMDs are there, security deposits are there in a bank when we go. I don't know whether we have been taking, because these are some of the fraud prone areas, vulnerable areas. So, and this is what regulator is saying, okay? Audit sampling, they were complaining. Now, LFAR mandates you to give them a sample of what you have chosen. So, regulator is also trying to tighten their grooves. This is another thing. IMF World Bank recommends to the regulator that the auditor's working paper should be available for the scrutiny. Now, institute is standing tall between the members and the regulators that no, this is mine. I think it's time for us also to make that, faith that institute poses on us, make that true and ensure that we are, well equipped. And finally, when I start LFAR, howsoever good you may be in your banking concepts, your auditing concepts, and howsoever good job you may do in audit, finally you are seen by what you have written. Your SA 700 doesn't reveal anything to the regulator. It's a standard format. Badal ke aata hai, date badal ke aata hai. It's a format given to us by the institute. It doesn't reveal anything. It is LFAR which is read line by the regulator. And therefore, it is necessary to understand where the regulator is coming from. So we will try and interpret some of those lines in the LFAR today, rather than merely going through the LFAR which is available to all of us. I'll start with these advances. We all know that its regulator has mandated us that if you go to a branch and if you select a sample, please, there is a significance to this, because now whatever you are reporting with reference to those you have selected. Number one. Number two, remember, SA 700 also talks about going concern aspect, which says that, which basically means that on the date of signature, there are no such factors known to us that would materially impact the financials that I'm signing within next 12 months. It may so happen that I sign today and 2 दिन के बाद आग लग जाती है वहां पे. I can't anticipate that. But if the factors existed at the time of my signature, and if I have not reported, then I may be held responsible for not reporting. This is again, I'll come back to that concept of a greater degree of skepticism. There is a way to report. There are provisions made in the report for us to report such aspects. So it's from that perspective when we select, and the questions also mandate us to select different types of advances. So it's not mere large advances and we forget about it. Have you come across cases of quick mortality? Quick mortality, we know, is account going into substandard within 12 months of its sanction. My suggestion to you would be, don't wait for it to go to substandard. Even if it goes to SMA, 0, 1, whatever. There are some more accounts like that. Okay. It has to have some impact on our reporting for the advances on the sanctions. Sanctions में कुछ तो problem है, तो SMA में जा रहे हैं पहले. So that would be early warning. That is what extra आप नहीं करोगे तो you are not wrong. You have followed the audit standard. You have followed the direction. But if you write, you have used your greater degree of skepticism in reporting to the regulator that was these are the issues with this branch. So now you will see, we will come to each, whichever question we discuss, we will know what greater degree would mean and how we should word our reports. This report no longer is take a last year printout and move ahead, because every time you have to have a fresh sample and fresh reporting thereon. Whether borrower account applicable interest rates. This is a common error that happens. There are some banks where sanction notes are not separated from the system. So the sanction notes come through system only, and the branch manager is expected to, in which case the rate of interest is keyed at the sanctioning level only. But many times the sanction letter comes and then they key in. Sometimes it's happened that, say, 9.75, when it comes, then some argument takes place, then branch manager calls, then the regional manager would say, अच्छा 9.50 कर दो, कर देते हैं. बात हुई है पर confirmations नहीं है. Such anomalies do take place. Not every time it's intentional, not every time it's fraudulent, but even the procedural aspect, because we'll be also certifying ICFR in the branch. So, regulator is trying to cover up there also. So, सब जगह से बांध के रखा है हमें. And therefore, we need to have a complete 360-degree view of what we are writing and how we should strategize. My suggestion, in fact, would be, right from the first day, there should be somebody starting on LFAR. There should be somebody doing ICFR and somebody doing our routine trial balance audit. 3 people or 3 teams is, in my opinion, must now for a branch audit. Whether small or big, for us, it's the same amount of job. If I do a 1 lakh crore branch or if I do 1 lakh branch, काम तो उतना ही है, उतना ही काम है. So, we need to be aware of how to go about. Frequent renewals, rollovers, etc., etc. Fine. There are certain questions which are routine and which we have been doing, so I won't take up. I'll take up only such where, we have something to discuss. Whether correct and valid credit rating. Now, if you happen to have a branch that has many account above 5 crores. So there are few things I will cover in a flow, which may be part of my later slides also. When it comes, I'll skip that. 5 crores and above, if you look at, every regulation gets attracted, every direction gets attracted if it is an account above 5 crores. Credit rating आ जाता है, stock audit आ जाता है, relic reporting आ जाता है. Now, it so happens sometimes that some account gets into SMA 0, 1 at the time of our audit. It's SMA 1, for example. So not much of a worry. My obvious question would be, whether the CRILC reporting has taken place. The branch manager would be after that client to pay and bring it in order. Somehow he will try to bring it in order. Boss, हो गया. अभी report करने की जरूरत नहीं है. You know, the problem that regulator tells me, you know, and this is, in my opinion, is part of our discussion and not what is written. Everybody can read and every one of us is learned enough to execute that. But these experiences, these discussions must be conveyed to all of us so that, you know, we individually strategize. It may so happen that that fellow is a defaulter elsewhere. It may so happen that he's done this with many banks. कहीं SMA है, कहीं D1 है, कहीं loss है. Now, if your branch manager does not report, he is keeping his eyes closed. And therefore, not able to strategize for his own bank. This is the greater degree of skepticism. बात ऐसी नहीं है, आप जो काम कर रहे हो वो बराबर कर रहे हो. But we are not silo, we are part of this entire system called Indian economy. And that is where regulator is feeling the pinch, boss. यहाँ पे हमें मदद करो, यहाँ पे हमें मदद करो. So we were discussing that, if he has a problem elsewhere, I won't know. I'm not auditor of the bank. CRILC is there now. You can ask for the data. You may not ask for all, you can ask for some of this, depending on the kind of transaction you see. That gives an edge to you to write in your LFAR on the kind of accounts that you are monitoring. That gives you perspective on sanctions. That gives you perspective on reviews, renewals, all of this. So there are, see, the discussion among us, branch audit come ho rahe hain, then number ye advances ka number बढ़ा रहे हैं तो और कम हो जाएंगे वगैरह वगैरह. We will lose our bank audits. In my opinion, there are good enough senior members here. This discussion must be taking place for last 40 years. किसी का कुछ काम नहीं कम हुआ. The reason is, as you keep on taking care of one aspect, the other aspect keeps on, coming up for us. So what will happen, the manner in which we conduct our audit, the expectations of the regulator from that audit would keep on shifting. So we need to upskill ourselves, or we need to keep on changing our skills to suit the regulatory requirement. If we don't, we'll lose, obviously. As such, many of us, even including me, when I passed out, it was a manual era. So somehow we tried to adapt to the new technology, etc., etc. That's why we could survive. Similarly, for every one of us in the time to come. So this will keep happening, and unless we upskill that, it will. So this is 5 crores and above. It will happen. And we will have to report those aspects, in our opinion. You see a problem. Stock statements not submitted. DP is not regular. Financial discipline, the one who doesn't carry a financial discipline is bound to face problems sometimes in the time to come. Now, these are the aspects that we need to keep. It will not only help banks, probably it will help many borrowers to ensure the discipline. Probably it will help us because he will engage some chartered accountant to ensure that his compliances are taken care of. The example that I gave you, the chartered accountants in some of those countries, they take pride in, they don't take audit. But as the level of compliance goes up, the chartered accountant's job goes up. So audit नहीं करेंगे, पर वो जिम्मेदारी छोड़ के बाकी भी काम इतना मिलते रहता है, बहुत मिलता है. 3 मालों की बिल्डिंग है, 3 floors I have seen. They don't take audit, they do accounting, they do compliance. Good money in there. So, the type of jobs that we do will keep changing. So enforcing the compliance, regulator is giving us the tool. We might as well use it. One more thing, and that's my favorite sentence. And that is, we are, who are we? We are reporters. Okay. In my opinion, if you observe, if you sense, report, don't empathize. अरे वो ब्रांच मैनेजर को बेचारे का प्रमोशन नहीं होगा, अरे वो उसका, we are a subject matter will concentrate too much. B, we are two humanitarians, by which we become party to the crime that fellow is committing. We become party. Sometimes वो बेचारा होगा, sometimes वो हमें बेचारा बनाता रहेगा. You never know. Don't empathize. Don't become party to someone else's crime. Don't think that, oh, I am safe if I do this. I am safe. That has been our thought process for a long time. It's time for us to change. We are part of the governance chain. That's what even Prime Minister has been directly or indirectly has been saying. No? If you look at the regulations, the way they are moving in the similar direction. We are part of the governance chain. So it's time for us to rise and report what, in our opinion, is reportable. Yeah. Yeah. There are 6 agencies in India. That is different. That is different because if you are above 5 crores, the capital CRAR calculations, okay, will happen only with your rating. Below that, it's retail. So every exposure has a 75% as the weightage. Above that, above 5 crores, if you are top notch, it can go down as below as 20. So बहुत फायदा होता है बैंकों को. If it is unrated 100, it is minus something or below B something, it is 150. ये ILFS का वो भी इशू हुआ ना, रेटिंग एजेंसी ने, लेकिन उनको कुछ नहीं हुआ. बेचारे हमारे चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट को पनिशमेंट हो गई. हाँ, एजेंसीज को, उनको 1 साल के लिए भी बैन नहीं हुआ. हमारे ऑडिटर हो गए 4-4, 5-5 साल. Anyway, that's besides the point. We need to strategize our profession. So, issue is rating is very important. And we are not the rating experts. We will accept as long as it is from the accepted rating agency. There are 6 agencies in India who are authorized. In the cases examined by you, look at the wording. Huh? Have you come across instances of credit facilities having been sanctioned beyond delegated powers? This will generally not happen now because the systems are quite automated. Even in last 2 years, much has changed. This has come 2 years back. But changing of LFAR is a matter of, the earlier was changed after 30 years. Hopefully now, slowly, and institute is proactive, by the way. I was part of the committee which drafted this LFAR, and we have been negotiating with regulator for 8 years. 2010 was the first draft, and 2018 or 19 it came first. So regulator also takes time. whether advances have been disbursed without complying with the terms and conditions. This keeps on happening, and especially if you come across group loans, etc., there is quite a possibility of it happening. So at least even the earlier one about this, whether the borrow account applicable rates, etc., the accounts that you have chosen, some of those you should check. Don't think that barabar rahega. Don't do that. Ask some first year article at least to check that, because whichever we are certifying, if you look at this new LFAR, there is an affirmative confirmation to it. Yes, I have checked. Yes, it is right. And generally, when we report by exception. Our audit reports are by exception, whereas this is affirmative many places. And therefore, understand where the regulator is coming from. And 99% कुछ problem नहीं होगा, पर 1% you never know. अपने ही branch में कोई नीरव मोदी निकल आएगा तो क्या करें? Sorry?
I think that this is
Yes. So because it's drafted by the legal team. It's drafted by the legal team. So it goes by the product. See, this keeps changing. If it is a business loan, then it is drafted for that account. And therefore, business loans also take little time because it goes to legal, etc., etc. Housing loan, 1 दिन में 2 दिन में भी होता है, because everything is standard. You submit these 4 documents, branch manager ही आगे चला दे, pass कर देता. Now, buyback of shares, I don't think we will come across any such cases, because branch managers are not authorized, and such a security probably cannot be fed into the system also. So if anybody has done it, it would be unsecured loan, so it won't come under this category at all. What happened? Yeah. Let's discuss on, see, while NPA calculations are completely automized now, the certification has taken place. We have also done certifications for some of the banks. There is one thing common across all this automation, and that is they are still vulnerable to certain manual interventions. Fund-based activities are completely taken care of. No issues at all. 90th day रात को 12 बजे वो downgrade होगा वगैरह वगैरह. Non-fund activity is still vulnerable because they are subject to the interventions. And one of the aspect is review renewal. In almost, except for me, maybe some more banks are also there. I was doing some assignment for PNB. I've seen PNB has overcome that problem through automation. Maybe State Bank of India, but I'm not aware. But many banks continue to have this one lacuna, wherein if review renewal has to be there, okay, first of all, system takes care of the downgrading if it is not reviewed for 180 days. Standard. That system is good at. But the branch manager does a short review. They are allowed to do short review twice. So they will do it. There is seldom a distinction in the system for a short review and a full-fledged review. So I'm just trying to give you the vulnerabilities, where our vulnerabilities can hit us as a reporter. Number one, distinction is not there. Number two, it's a mere date that they need to change. So I have come across as latest as the previous quarter audit, wherein the branch manager simply changes the date. Reviewed. कागज नहीं आया, कुछ नहीं आया, बैलेंस शीट नहीं सबमिट हुआ, nothing has happened. So camouflaging of system. Now what happens? It is not a fraud. It is not intentional. It's a chain. ऊपर से जनरल मैनेजर भी आपको खाना खाने लेके जाएगा, बॉस ये प्रॉब्लम क्यों है, ये क्या करना चाहिए, ये हम क्या करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. My motto is clear. I don't want to be party to your crime. Judge, so यहाँ लिखा है ये करोगे तो ये होगा तो होगा. ये आपको पहले करना था. You know, don't empathize because you never know पानी कहाँ से बहता होगा. No, this is true. I'm telling you this. I have experienced that. Sometimes, sometimes even I have been lucky that regulator हमें बोला चलो ठीक है अगली बार मत करना. As professionals, some small hiccups here and there will keep happening with all of us. Sometimes we get caught, sometimes we don't get caught. They may not be deliberate by us. We are not party to the crime per se, but sometimes we feel that this is issue and we should allow because we are in the judgment. No, we are not. We are not allowed to give any judgment. We are reporters. We are not judgment dene wala regulator hai. Let him judge whether it was wrong or right. We are not judges. We are mere reporters. So what happens? Change kar dete hain. You will not come to know because it's not reportable anyway. So all is possible if review renewals taken place recently or if they were overdue in the previous month and have taken place. Ensure that you see that those review renewals are properly done. If it is not done, and sometimes it could be large accounts also. If it is not done, we have not done our job. And let us not wait for regulator to catch us. See, if we are able to anticipate, if we are able to see through this problem and report in right words, if you report that this is the problem you have faced and this is, however, this could be the issue. Now it doesn't have any significance on your opinion as true and fair because accounts are still good. But the mere fact that you have given these indicators to the regulator, they will feel, boss, isne kaam acha kiya hai. And if all of us do, they will say chartered accountants branch audit ka kaam acha hota hai. That is the reason it is good to have a branch audit. If your report, if you get it corrected, and if there is nothing in your report, maybe nothing has gone wrong for years, then you don't need audit. No, sab kuch theek hi chal raha hai. No, so perceptions also changes. Perception also changes. So reading between the lines, trying to anticipate, trying to have a greater degree of skepticism and show our independence, all of this is part of we demonstrating to the regulator. Boss, I am there. मैं हूं इसके लिए आप हो. बहुत फर्क पड़ता है, बहुत फर्क पड़ता है. And you can see, if you read this, the plain meaning of it and the way I am interpreting, they are little different. And both may be true. Stock, good debts, I spoke about it. DP calculations. It's part of the discipline. Don't look at it from the provision perspective. Directly again. So, don't look at it from that perspective. Okay? अभी ठीक है. There is no impact on the financials. That is not the mere reason why we audit. We are also here to, report rightly so that regulators is armed. Stock audit, I spoke about it. Generally, I have come across cases where if stock audit, 5 crores and above stock audits are eligible, you will have cases where stock audits not allotted. You will have cases if allotted, not conducted. If conducted, report not come. If report come, not taken cognizance of. All these cases you will find. If you don't find report, and sometimes mere report may not help. If there are no reports, in some cases, extend your checking with those accounts to eliminate whether it's not deliberate, using our greater degree of skepticism. Possible हो सकता है कि eliminate कर लो that there is no deliberate action on the part of management or the borrower. That non-corporate entities, this is a long story. There was in earlier LFAR 10 lakhs and above was there, that was removed. Now Reserve Bank of India said every bank will have their own policy. No bank has their own policy. So this particular aspect is, not there. I believe yesterday I was in Baroda and one of our CCM was there. So they were trying to say that they are trying to come up with some kind of methodology or of audit to non-corporate entities. So generally for a non-corporate, there are large accounts also. Partnership accounts are also large. And we have been accepting the stock audit, it's not stock audit, tax audit report as the audit report. Now, frankly speaking, tax audit is not an audit. Generally, when we say we have audited, okay, it's audited report. It basically means that we have observed these auditing standards in giving our opinion, and the books of accounts have followed the applicable accounting standards. Now, such a assurance is not there if it is not an audited account, if it is not under SA 700. And for non-corporate entities, it is not mandatory. So, somewhere institute is also trying, if we could look at some kind of a reporting for those entities. Well, it will happen, it will not happen. This debate is going on for a long time. At the moment, we will have to carry on. If it is a large account, we will select that account from the greater degree of skepticism perspective. Advances under consortium. You may be aware that Reserve Bank of India came up with a directive to all the banks to close current accounts which are outside the consortium. Because it was observed that the borrowers were opening current account with some banks, different banks, routing their transactions through that, and the consortium account, there will be SMA category or sometimes even downgraded category. Now, what happened? In my opinion, most of the public sector banks did follow. Some of them still, but many of the private banks, they found a new way. They said, okay, you give me 1 lakh rupee deposit, OD against. Current account nahi chalega, but OD to chalega. Now, technically, they are out of that directive. In my opinion, if you have come across such a case, it speaks of a borrower. It speaks of his financial discipline. And therefore, such a activity, although the account may be running right, in my opinion, are a subject matter of reporting. It may be, everything may be hunky-dory, that doesn't matter, but still it matters because it will sometimes it will, I'll tell you that famous case of Vincent Diamond, you may be aware, it was such a prime account and pride account to bankers. The bankers would sit outside that cabin, his cabin, I think Mehta, some Jatin Mehta, to have some small portion of his advance, exposure. Stanchart was the lead bank. Many of our BSBs were, okay. And it was a 1,500 crore exposure to banking industry. On the date of the default, Stanchart had a zero exposure. And all public sector banks were fallen into it. All of us identified it subsequently and insisted on full provision. So we have done our job. Reserve Bank of India, in the conversation, not officially from the forum, but sometimes when you are out, you chartered accountants have been obsessed with provisioning. Because provisioning baad mein hota hai. It may so have the delayed reporting has caused frauds. The delayed reporting has caused a substantial loss to banking industry. Because in their opinion, we have failed to identify these gaps much ahead. In this case, why could Stanchart have a zero balance? They anticipated over the period they reduced. And our banks kept on taking more because they are reducing. Signs were clear. And who was on the board? The entire board was ex-DGMs and GMs of various banks. He had resigned. So, there are things which we can see through, read through. Because of that, how we also get different avenues, how we get the perspective. When I was auditing some other bank, and I realized another good account, very good account, 40-45 crores exposure in that branch and running very, very well, 300-400 crores of turnover, everything good. Now, as a part of my selection that had come, so technically I had nothing to check there, everything was reviews done properly, everything, the good audit firm was there auditing. Accounts were running smooth. They were corresponding with the kind of transactions. The operations were nice. Everything was nice. Now, when you go through, I came across RPT disclosure in the balance sheet. And RPT disclosure mein 80% of the purchases were from related party and 100% of the parties in Dubai. Now, because I knew of this case, I thought, boss, are we financing this company or we are financing the related parties? Tomorrow, if suddenly this 100% sales, जो दुबई में बैठा है, he stops giving me money, I'm gone. So although my account is good, I reported that. I mean, the bank account is still running good after 4 or 5 years also. So not everything is a fraud. Not every time it's a fraud or intent. But that observation was there. Let the judge take a call. We are mere reporters. I reported that this is the issue and bank should take necessary action to de-risk. So this is how, sometimes intended or unintentional aspects that are required to be reported by us. And if we are not aware, if we are not diligent enough, maybe, we will face. In case of our NBFCs, and it used to happen that, slowly these aspects are also taken care of effectively by the regulator and by the banks also. So some of those, even the current LFAR is 3-4 year old, as I said, and some of the aspects over the period have taken care of NBFC. So if they have say 300 crores of exposure and or book debts of pledged 300 crores and they have 3-4 facilities. So same 300 crores is everywhere. It may so happen that all the facilities put together, the exposure could be more than their underlying securities. So that bifurcation is required, all of that. Has the classification, again, now it's completely automated, and I don't think there is much for us to check there, because even from the IT perspective, you would take comfort from the CSAs or the IT auditors for you to certify this. MOCs is fine. List of accounts, yeah. Upgrade and downgrade. Automated NPA marking has created one more, problem for us. I won't say problem, but a little difficult as compared to the previous era. Like downgrading takes place automatically, even the upgradation takes place automatically. And I have observed in few banks where I am part of their audit, the easy list of upgradations is not available. And upgradation is a dangerous thing. For example, I deposit a check, it gets bounced, doesn't matter, system will upgrade because the credit has taken place. The fact that there is a credit, it will upgrade. It may be intentional, it may not be intentional. I'm not saying every time it's intentional, but systems are vulnerable. And therefore, upgradations are vulnerable. And in a large list, it's difficult to know if this was a standard account last time and it's standard account today, it's difficult for you to judge whether there were ups and downs within. So some report, if possible, some banks will have a trail, some banks may not have a trail. If you don't have a trail, please report it accordingly. But upgradation is another vulnerable aspect that needs to be taken care of at the time of our audit. RBI guidelines of IRAC, it's far too overreaching statement, but well, we are signing the balance sheet, so we will say yes. Valuation report. Valuation report is another age-old thing that we need to, fight on. 3 years older ones, etc., etc. Right value for the purpose of provisioning. So when we are checking NPA, this is one aspect which needs to be taken care of. Again, this is subject to manual intervention because valuations is something that you put in. Decrease. This will happen in some of the remote branches where decrease have to be executed at the branch level. Agriculture loans, if they are there, or some of the, not agriculture, but agriculture based loans. So sometimes the branch manager hesitates to execute the code decrease. You will come across this if you have the branches outside. Now, non-fund exposures list the borrowers where LCs have been devolved. Now, what happens? It may so happen that LCs are devolved and they are paid back. Even if they are paid back, in my opinion, if they were devolved anytime during the year, it would form part of this. It is only to understand that financial discipline that the borrower is following. Devolved maybe on account of borrower's indiscipline, or it could be anything else. And this is the list if they are not paid at the time of signature. So it's a carve out of what was there. This particular aspect again is included because in 15-16 there was a big hue and cry in the parliament on charging of Pankaj is aware, So this came because of that. It's taken care of now again, but it's still part of the LFAR at this juncture. And at the branch level, frankly speaking, nothing much can be done. There was a big discussion with the institute, with the regulator. How can a branch auditor, certify this? Everything is system based, that it takes care, taken care of the central level. But still it was enforced, and therefore it was concluded that, okay, branch auditor will check 3-4 accounts to check whether, the levy is not disproportionate. Okay, it's only a matter of reporting. I don't see much, value per se for us as a auditor here. Like I said earlier, this sundry deposit, bills payable, especially if they are older ones, are vulnerable. I've come across EMDs, 5, 6, 7-year-old, and they are not, these frauds may not be on the borrower side, it is the management side. And they are small amounts, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, kuch EMD bacha rehta hai. Somebody's बिल लगा के लेके जाता है, इसने देखा अरे वो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर तो अभी मर गया, अरे वो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर तो काम खत्म हो गया, अभी कई इज नॉट गोइंग टू क्लेम दैट. So any movement, any debits to this account, in my opinion, they should be seen, even if they are small amounts, because they speak of the procedural lapses. And we are certifying ICFR also. I won't cover this. They are standard ones. Every branch will have, every bank rather, there are MIS. We must be doing concurrent audits also. So we are aware of this fact. We do take reports, MIS reports for our verification. Even as a statutory auditor, in my opinion, if we ensure to look at this MIS, lot of things will be revealed, lot of things will be helpful to us from our audit perspective. Frauds is something which I'll be discussing little, in a detail. Reserve Bank of India, like I have been discussing all along in my previous slides also, the delay in reporting, not using our greater degree of skepticism at point, majority of the frauds have taken place in advances account, and that too, when they compiled it, they realized most of them, or rather all of them, are above 50 crore and above. So large account में ही problem होता है. Even if I were to answer, look at falsification of accounts, false representative. So to address this, okay, there was a circular on 7th May 2015 on EWS, early warning signal, wherein if account is above 50 crores, and if you come across, I have listed few instances of that. I'll just show you and come back. There are as many as 45 instances that Reserve Bank of India has listed in this circular. And as an auditor, I keep advocating that keep this circular on your record, and don't only wait for 50 crores and above. Even if it is 10 crore, even 5 crore and above, if you look at such instances in the account, I think they are reportable, because many of the regulations that have come subsequent to 2015, I have seen they have been addressing some of these points. Like, for example, I spoke about current account. It was part of this circular first. So whenever Reserve Bank of India realized that these are the techniques that borrowers have been using, they compiled it. They actually compiled 100 top frauds in India. Then they compiled it industry-wise. So they realized gems and jewelry में बहुत हुआ है. Then manufacturing में इतना नहीं हुआ है, gems and jewelry में हुआ है. और फिर I forgot now some of the industries. I have that. In that circular you will have. So what has happened? These 45 were common. Just a 45 were common across these 100 accounts. So they compiled and they are trying to address it slowly. So sometimes it will hit us in the near future as a directive or a regulation, etc., etc. So let me come to see. About 90% of the frauds in terms of the amount involved are happening in the credit portfolio of the bank. The large value frauds involved 50 crores and above constitute 80% of all frauds. The factors facilitating large value frauds are opening current account, we spoke about, deficient and fraudulent services certificates by third party entities. Regulator is nice enough in not naming a particular professional. They say third party entities, which will involve any professional. It could be rating agencies also. It could be engineers also. And it may be chartered accountants also. Besides bank audit, we have been also issuing certificates. And these certificates also have caused a lot of problems because we empathize. We empathize with the business world. We empathize. Now, let us remember one thing today onwards, rather we know it all along. We are not judges. We are mere reporters. And we will report what we see based on our audit standards, based on our accounting standards given to us. That's the only right given to us by the institute. That's the only right we carry. It has caused, it may create problem for the borrower. But why should you become party to it? He goes to some other chartered accountant. It's okay. If all of us come together, I was appointed by RBI for investigating one bank. And I genuinely feel bad that I could not save that chartered accountant, okay? Same thing. Rampant certificates were given for the things which were not existent. The certificates does not match with even the figures in the branch. And our investigation report carried that these are the flaws, etc. It was not targeted towards A, B, C. It was the bank's fraud story which was narrated and submitted. That chartered accountant came to my office. Sir, if you could save me. I have not done anything. That director was my friend. So he insisted. They said that the bank is in trouble and will come out of it, etc., etc., etc. So in the hope that they are trying to, do something good to the bank, I did that. I said, if the matter is with regulators, if the matter is with CBI, if I write something, I'll be sitting with you in the jail. साथ में बैठेंगे फिर. साथ में बैठेंगे ना. So, what happens? I mean, and it's not that he had taken some good handsome money for that certificate. कुछ 5,000 रुपया लिया रहेगा. 5 साल का जेल हुआ उसको. So, it's getting too serious for us. And somehow, पता नहीं, chartered accountants के ऊपर बहुत गुस्सा है system का. बहुत गुस्सा है. Even SEBI wants us to sign certain things. नहीं करते, फिर अभी circle up करते हैं ना. करना, यही यही सर्टिफाई करेंगे. They want us to sign. They want us to, sign, certify that this is right. Now, institute is also in trouble in defending all of us every time. There is a pressure. So, certificates don't get lured. Diversion of funds by borrower through various means, including through associate shell companies. Another case which all of us must have seen. 10 crore sanction हो गया, within 1 week 9 crore चला जाता है. Different late होगा, already late हो गया है sanctioning में, and my work is pending, etc., etc. Technically, nothing is wrong on the date of signature. Nothing wrong. However, now with this renewed thought, it's a matter of reporting which company it has gone to, whether it is RPT, whether it has any connection. We are also conducting the forensic audits under IBC, and we realized that most of these companies were actually not doing the kind of job they were expected to. कुछ excavation का काम है, तो जो कंपनी को पैसा दिया वो excavation करती ही नहीं. But sitting in the branch and looking at these figures, we won't know. Maybe it's going little beyond that a regulator is expecting, but we have reached that stage to find out what is this company doing, what management has taken steps to understand. We may not be the judge, but we can ask management, why did you allow this? What is your reason in sanctioning this? What is your control for the utilization? And if the satisfying answers are not there, in my opinion, that skepticism needs to be reported. If we start doing that, probably banks also will get a good system. The borrowers will get the good discipline. It will help the overall economic situation also. Empathizing will only deteriorate. Lapses in credit underwriting, failing to identify EWS that we spoke about. Delayed recognition. See, we were obsessed with provisions. So what happens? When we make provisions, we feel we have done our job. OTS karta hai, that person may be habitual defender. दूसरी जगह जाके वही करता है. But if he's registered as a fraud, he will be restrained from taking any such steps with any other bank. So ये फर्क है. When you identify that this could be intentional and requires, the further investigation. Sorry, सिबिल में आता है ना वो? हाँ आता है, वो आता है. देखो उसका रेटिंग कम हो जाएगा, हाई रेट पे ले लेगा पैसा, उसको तो डूबा नहीं है ना, तो क्या फर्क पड़ता है? हाई रेट का और लो रेट का क्या संबंध है? Most of these are cash strapped guys. They keep on finding new banks, and sometimes they will go bad because finally you reach a point of no return and it becomes difficult to manage. So if everything is going good today, does not mean delay in reporting CRILC I spoke about. The branch manager will try and bring in the money rather than reporting it to CRILC. Now, such delayed reporting also has caused the banking industry and the economy at large. ये थोड़ा repeat है. So some banks अब ARC का धीरे धीरे बंद हो जाएगा because they have lost the benefit of provisioning there. Now, but this was rampant. So look at, this is based on 2-3 years back situation. And you can see how regulator is trying to plug in each one. Many of these observations are through their presentation or their circular, justifying why they are doing it. So they are trying to plug in these aspects slowly. आगे बढ़ रहे हैं. Slow progress in investigation. I have come across situations के fraud committee ने declare किया है fraud, पर bank is not declaring because some regional or zonal manager is in disagreement. And it keeps going on for 6 months. दोनों के झगड़े के बीच में. नहीं वो fraud नहीं है, वो उसका genuine problem है, वगैरह वगैरह. They want to refrain anybody to call a fraud because fraud is a very, very serious. That borrower is almost fugitive हो जाता है वो. So banks, the business guy from the bank would refrain from moving ahead, and the regulator and the regulating team in bank, compliance team in bank would like to push it. उसके बीच में वो पड़ा रहता है. In one of the bank, बहुत साल हो गया उसको, 8-10 साल पहले की बात है. Reserve Bank of India representative on the board, when he came to know about such delayed in one case, and generally chairman is not part of the audit committee, he said chairman को बुलाओ. और in front of the entire, he started blasting at him. It was embarrassing to us as an auditor. It was embarrassing to other board members. But I have personally experienced this in the boardroom. He was very agitated. He felt as if, the bank is also committing a fraud on Reserve Bank of India by not, taking the action. रिपोर्ट आया है, ड्रॉर में पड़ा है 6 महीने से, उसके ऊपर डिसीजन नहीं ले रहे. So they are not necessarily intended frauds, but they tend to amount to it and has a material. And at that point of time, it was 600 crores that was at a stake. So, it tend to amounts to, defrauding a bank also, indirectly. So sometimes we may not realize our empathizing, our understanding may have a completely different connotations and implications. We saw this. We know ICFR or IFC. So obviously we will, we are not only responsible for the financial figures, we are also responsible to ensure that procedurally the bank is following its processes meticulously. And ICFR, even a single mistake basically means that the procedures are compromised. That means the procedures are not robust. कंप्यूटर में जैसे एक मिस्टेक है तो पॉसिबिलिटी है कि कई जगह मिस्टेक होगी. Similarly with ICFR. So see, look at this from how we are tied up from different angles by the regulator. Those questions individually may be straightforward, maybe simple, but their answers are not isolated. They are, they are woven into some theme in through the entire LFAR. If we have to understand this, we need to start this right from the beginning. It's a separate activity and not the final activity like SSA 100. It's an audit by itself. In fact, LFAR team will keep on giving the feedback to your other auditing team. Was I want these samples, I want this sample. Incidentally, I'm told, I have not seen, but I'm told yesterday that institute CAQ has come up with a Excel, am I right? Download कीजिएगा वो. As I have not seen, but as I understand, it's too tedious, and sometimes every one of us will be like, "क्या नाटक है? इतना detail." But in my opinion, it's time for us to rise. It will give you a good guidance on following every step. It is impossible for you to miss unless you ignore. Institute has, so guidance note, whatever it is written in the guidance note, they have tied that question to every guidance. So it's impossible for you to miss. And you will do a effective job. कोशिश कर लो, अगर वो डाउनलोड कर सकते, उसमें बग्स होंगे, ये होंगे, चलो चलता रहेगा. Every system is subject to improvement over the period. None of us are perfect. So, get started somewhere. Institute is doing really such a good, effort to enhance the audit quality, to enhance the impression of the profession in the eyes of a regulator and public at large. If we don't rise, then it's our fault. So, in my opinion, with this, I will conclude my session. Thank you.
Stop sharing. Stop sharing. Thank you, sir, for this detailed presentation on bank audit. On behalf of the entire JB Nagar CP Study Circle, I would like to propose a very hearty vote of thanks to our today's first speaker, CA Sandeep Ji Welling, for his presentation on bank audit, specifically the LFAR and ICFR and others. Thank you, sir, for giving us a macro perspective from the point of view of regulators and what is expected out of us at large. And as you've emphasized enough times in your presentation, we will try to have a greater degree of skepticism. And thanks to your explaining us with examples, we will be able to implement it better. Thank you. Also, I would like to thank all our coordinators today for helping us out in the arrangement and the conduction of the event. I have a few announcements. We have a taxman team with us today. Outside, they have a stall. We can order books and we can take books from them at a 35% discount that they're offering today. Also, they're offering a discount of 18% on their online research subscription. The Finance Act that is yet to be published, if you can place orders today, they are also offering discounts of 35% on that.
So all are requested to take benefit. After the technical sessions on bank audit, we will need tools that will help us conduct it. And therefore, we have arranged a Zoom meeting on 1st of April on Excel tools that will be required for bank audit. We also request you all to attend that. And now we will break for our breakfast, and our second session will be again in 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you.